All right. How are you guys doing today? Amen. Well, all right. Well, I'd like to introduce to you our very special speaker here. Mrs. Esposito has organized for you today, and it's Mr. Walt Fennell. So let me explain a little bit of who he is. He graduated from Southern Adventist University and came to this area in 1988, and later married his wife, Nancy Fennell. And they have three children, Matthew, Jeff, and Lauren. And he started his career at the General Conference in finance and accounting, and then he went into public accounting after that. And he has worked at some pretty large accounting firms in his career, one of which is PwC. Do you guys know that accounting firm? They're the ones that do the Oscars. So a very, very big firm there. And then now he works for EY, Ernst & Young, and it's one of the big four accounting firms in the world here, at least in the United States, right? Yeah. All right, and he works in auditing, and of course the firm works in tax and business. But most of all, of all of his personal success that he has had a heart of service. And so have served here at Spencerville Adventist Academy. All of his three children went through here, all pre-K through 12th grade. And he has served on our board for more than 20 years. And that's a lot of volunteer hours. And so we're here because of that service. And so this is somebody who is very integrated into our community. He no longer has children here at Spencerville, but very much cares for our school and wants the very best, and gives his time to help us get there. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our keynote speaker here today, is Mr. Walt Fennell.
Well, thank you, Mr. Martinez. Thanks. Some of you might know me from Spencerville Church. I'm not here in the school very often. Usually when I'm here in the school, it's in the evenings for the board meetings or finance committee meetings. Some of you I know because you were in my Sabbath school class at Spencerville when you were in 5th or 6th grade. For those of you who were in my Sabbath school class, there's not going to be a Kahoot quiz today, so sorry to disappoint you on that. Okay, a little bit about who I am. Mr. Martinez did indicate my wife Nancy and I, we have three children, Matt, Jeff, and Lauren. This picture in the middle was taken of us at Disney. We're a huge Disney fan. We love going to Disney. Pretty much any chance we can get, we go to Disney. Some of the slides got cut off. So I am a graduate of Forest Lake Academy. I was born in Tampa, Florida. I grew up in Orlando, attended Forest Lake Academy. Back in the day, Spencerville every once in a while would actually play Forest Lake Academy at basketball tournaments down at Southwestern, and I was always very conflicted as to which team I should root for at that point in time. But I typically did pull for the Hornets over the Panthers. So I am a native of Florida. I am a 13th generation descendant of folks born here in the United States. My roots actually started in this country before it was even the United States. My first family member arrived on the shores of this continent, in this country, in 1620. Does anybody know what is special about the year 1620? Okay, Mr. Lawrence, you now have a quiz question. 1620 was not Jamestown. 1620 was Plymouth, Massachusetts, Mayflower. I attended, once I graduated from Forest Lake Academy, I spent some time at Newbold over in England. I also spent some time at Walla Walla University, a full year out at Walla Walla. I would not recommend Walla Walla University as far as the location is concerned. The school is fine, but the location leaves a lot to be desired. Although both our sons did attend Walla Walla. After getting my head screwed on straight and figuring out where I needed to go to school, I went to Southern, graduated from Southern with an accounting degree. After I graduated from Southern, I moved up here to this area and attended George Washington University, go Colonials, and I received a master's degree in accounting from GW. We'll get into my career, my profession, but I have often thought, like, if I could do my career over, what would my dream job be? My dream job would be to be a Walt Disney Imagineer. Do any of you know what that is? Yeah, the Imagineers are the folks that dream up the new parks, the new rides. They design all that. put it into place. I just think that would be an awesome job to have. And then finally, down here in this lower section of the slides, I don't know if you can read it correctly, but one is a picture of a train station and one is a picture of my official United States passport. And I don't know if you can read what has been stamped on my official United States passport, but my passport has been stamped to hell. So I'm not sure if that means that's where I'm going to end up, but this picture was taken in front of the Hell train station. And if any of you ever want to find this, all you have to do is go to Norway, and you will find Hell, Norway. Okay, so I'm a CPA. Does anybody know what I'm not an influencer? I'm sorry. I'm not a jet pilot. I'm not an FBI agent. I'm not a pro athlete. I'm a CPA. Does anybody, by any chance, happen to know what CPA stands for? There are prizes. Yes. Certified Public Accountant. You are 100% correct. I am sorry that nobody guessed Cool Person of America. All right, Certified Public Accountant. Okay, so what do Certified Public Accountants do? Pretty much CPAs fall into three categories of things that they do. They conduct audits, they help people with their taxes, or they do business consulting. Audits. If you think of any large company, let's just say, for example, Google. Google is what we call a publicly traded company, which means people own stock in Google. You could go out and you could buy a piece of stock in Google, and which means you would be an owner of Google. Now, unfortunately, Google has issued millions and millions of shares of stock, so if you were to buy one stock certificate in Google, you would own an infinitesimal amount of Google, but you would own Google. You would own that portion of Google. If you are a publicly traded company, annually you have to prepare a set of financial statements. Financial statements are documents which are governed by very strict regulations, and what they show is, once a year, here's everything that the company owns, here are all the liabilities, things that they owe to other people, here's how much money they made during the year, here's all their expenses during the year. Very strict set of regulations that these documents are prepared under, but it gives you, the investor, an idea as to how well the company is performing. Because if you are going to invest your money in a company, you want to invest it in a company that's doing well. You don't want to invest it in a company that's about to go bankrupt. So every year, these financial statements have to be audited. That's what I do. I audit those financial statements. CPAs also help people with taxes. You probably all know what taxes are, but every year, your parents have to pay taxes to the U.S. government. Every year, most corporations have to pay taxes to the U.S. government. CPAs help individuals and companies figure out the right amount of taxes that they're required to pay. You don't want to pay too much. That's silly. You don't want to pay too little. You get in a lot of trouble if you underpay your taxes. You want to pay the exact right amount. So CPAs help people with that. CPAs also do business consulting. So a company might be struggling with a particular issue. Maybe they're having trouble getting parts delivered to their client. CPAs might be brought in to help that organization figure out, like, what's preventing you from getting your parts to your client in a timely basis. So let us help you figure that out. We'll come up with a solution. We can put that solution in place, and your company will run much better. During my career, I've worked on audits, and I've also done business consulting. I have the ampersand in campus recruiting. I've done a lot of campus recruiting during my career. I've been out on a lot of campuses across the country interviewing college students to see if they would be qualified to come work for the firm that I was working for. Interviewing, understanding their background, understanding what they did in school, talking to them about what their career aspirations were, and then determining would they be a good fit for the company I was working for. I probably interviewed hundreds of students during my career. And it's one of the things I've actually enjoyed the most is getting out on college campuses and interviewing students. Okay, let's make this a little more, I'll give you a practical example of what I'm talking about. My current client is the United States Marine Corps. I audit their financial statements. This is General Eric Smith. He's the commander or commandant of the Marine Corps. Looks like a super nice guy, doesn't he? Not really. The man's a trained killer. All the Marines are. Even up to the 4-star generals, they still have to pass the same physical fitness test as a 4-star general that that the enlisted personnel have to pass. Every single month. I have never seen an overweight general who works in the Marine Corps. I have seen overweight Army generals. I've seen overweight Navy admirals. I've seen overweight Air Force generals. I have never seen an overweight Marine Corps general. I have seen Marine Corps generals out on base leading the pack as they're running their PT in the morning. These guys are physically fit, and I'm pretty sure he could kill you if he really wanted to, like just by looking at you, which it has felt like a couple of times when I've been in meetings with him. Okay, up on the screen is the balance sheet for the Marine Corps. I know it's hard to read, sorry about that. But this is one of those statements that I talked about. This document represents everything that the Marine Corps owns and everything that they owe money to, assets and liabilities. So if I was going to audit this balance sheet, and let's just say I was going to audit this particular line item, which you can't read, so I'll tell you what it is. It's general property, plant, and equipment. So this is all the equipment, this is all the buildings that the Marine Corps owns, $25 billion worth of stuff. Okay, it's my job to audit that number. Is it correct? Have they determined that number in accordance with the rules and regulations that they have to follow when they prepare financial statements? So to do that, my team and I might have to get on a plane and go to Norway. Okay? Why would we go to Norway? The Marines have stuff in a lot of different places around the world. Primarily in the United States, a lot of stuff in Japan, some stuff in Norway, and some stuff in other places around the world. We might end up having to go to Norway, which is how I wound up in hell. Okay, once we get to Norway, we might have to go to a location that looks something like this. Okay? And you see that little like weird opening, those two little buildings right there? Once you go through that doorway, it actually goes inside a mountain. And what they've done in Norway, in case you didn't know it, they actually share a border with Russia. Okay, which is kind of a scary thing if you think about it, to share a border with Russia. Okay, this is one of the reasons why the Marines have a bunch of equipment in Norway in case there's ever an incident in Europe. Okay, so you would go through this doorway, and they have inside this mountain, they have carved a huge cave. I mean, a huge cave. And then inside that cave, they have a bunch of stuff. They have a bunch of equipment. And so my team and I, we would fly to Norway, we would go rent a car, we would drive out to these caves, we would go inside the caves, we would start counting equipment, okay? Understanding, is all the equipment there that they said should be there, okay? Write down a bunch of information about all the different equipment, serial numbers, type of equipment, that type of thing. Get all this done, and then after we'd finish that, we'd go back home to the United States, then we'd go to the Pentagon, and we'd work with the Marines at the Pentagon to go through all their records and determine, okay, let's figure out if you valued all of these pieces of equipment correctly, and then let's figure out what portion of that $25 billion does all this support, and then we would keep doing that until we had audited all the numbers on that set of financial statements, and when we're done, we'd issue a report that says, good job, Marine Corps. Your financial statements have been prepared in accordance with the rules and regulations, and they are almost 100% accurate. Auditors don't audit down to the penny. They audit to a close enough number. Okay? The Marine Corps, of the Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines, the Marine Corps is the only group that has been able to successfully get through an audit. Okay? Navy's getting close. Army is woefully behind, and Air Force is somewhere between Army and Navy. But the Marine Corps, only group that's ever been able to get through this process successfully. So it's pretty cool for the Marines. Okay. I've been doing this work for a long time. I've worked for a lot of different federal government agencies. These are some of the agencies that I've done audits for or consulting for. Okay, Social Security Administration, NASA was pretty cool because I got to see a lot of stuff associated with the space program. NASA, we got into a little bit of a back and forth, and they told me they wanted to strap me to the head of a rocket one time because they were so frustrated with me. Now, for those of you who can see some of the stuff clearly, you'll see that these three agencies in the red box, you might recognize one of them, but the other two you may not have heard of. National Reconnaissance Office, National Security Agency, and the CIA. I have done work at all three of those organizations. These are part of what's called the intelligence community for the United States government, okay? I'm not a spy, but I've worked at these spy agencies, okay? They're responsible for determining who the bad guys are in the world and helping to defend our country from who those bad guys are. When you work in the intelligence community, you have to get special clearances, and you also have to go through polygraph tests. I've been through several polygraph tests in my lifetime, and it's pretty much just like you see on the movies. They sit you down in a special chair. What's special about the chair? The chair can actually determine if you're shifting your weight or if you're squirming in your chair. Why would that be important? Because typically, if you are starting to tell a lie, you might shift your weight a little bit. It's one of the things that we just do as human beings. We tend to shift a little bit if we're telling a lie. Okay, so the chair can actually determine if I'm shifting my weight at all. They do strap the things around your chest, just like you see in the movies. That's to measure your heart rate and your respirations. Again, if you are telling a lie, it's typically a stressful situation. Humans just innately don't want to lie. It's the way God designed us, okay? We do lie because of sin, but God didn't design us to lie. So when we lie, it does cause stress in the body. So that's why they have the straps around you so they can see, has your heart rate changed? Have your respirations changed? They put a blood pressure cuff on your arm. They put sensors on your hands, and then they start asking you the questions, okay? Some people, it's very uncomfortable. I've worked with people who cannot pass a polygraph test. They're good people. They get so incredibly stressed out by this process that they can't get through it, okay? Fortunately, I've been able to get through the ones. I'm an Adventist. What do I have to hide? I mean, I've lived a good life. So I had a security officer tell me one time, you are about as squeaky clean as they come. So that's been part of my career, is working in the intelligence community as well. All right. So let's talk a little bit about accounting firms. Accounting firms are not corporations. They're not companies. They're partnerships. That means the people who run these companies are the owners of the companies, okay? These 4 companies that are on the board are the 4 largest CPA firms in the world. CPA firms can be comprised of one person, or they can be comprised of tens of thousands of people. These 4 companies work worldwide, and they all employ tens of thousands of individuals. And Mr. Martinez mentioned I did work for PwC for a number of years, probably 24 years, I think, and I currently work for EY. So I've been fortunate that I've worked at 2 of the largest 4 accounting firms in the world. They all work pretty much the same. They do what I talked about, audits, tax, and business consulting, and they all pretty much have a similar staffing model. They're built on a pyramid. At the bottom of the pyramid are the people right out of school. They're called staff. After you've been a staff person for a number of years, you're a senior. After you're a senior for a few years, you're a manager. After you're a manager for a few years, you're a senior manager. And then if you're lucky enough and fortunate enough and everything falls into place, you can eventually be admitted to the partnership. And that's at the top of the pyramid. And those are the folks that own the firm. Okay, so these are the big 4 firms in the world. Who do they hire? What are they looking for? Traditionally, these big 4 firms have looked for accounting majors, okay? They've looked for accounting majors. They don't necessarily look for only accounting majors anymore. To do audits and tax, you have to be an accounting major, and you have to become a CPA. It's a certification you receive after you graduate from college. It's a very long test. It's a very hard test. Not everybody passes it. If you're lucky, you might be in the 10% that pass on the first time you take it, okay? Most people have to take it multiple times before they can pass it, okay? So audits and tax, you have to be an accounting major. But to do business consulting, because business consulting can be a lot of different things, and business consulting has become a big part of each of these big 4 firms, so they hire people with a wide range of backgrounds anymore. Not just accounting majors, not just finance majors. They might hire econ majors. They might hire math majors. They might hire statisticians. They might hire engineers. They might hire doctors. They might hire nurses, physical therapists. It all just depends. They might hire HR consultants, HR professionals. It just all depends on the type of work that you're going to do as a business consultant, okay? And then what are they looking for? When I was on college campuses, what was I looking for somebody that I wanted to hire to come be at my firm with me, okay, to work for me? They look for individuals who are well-spoken and confident. Big 4 firms like to say they hire the best and the brightest, okay? So they're looking for people who are well-spoken, who are confident, who can carry on a conversation, Because what's going to happen? You're going to be meeting with your client on a regular basis. You need to be able to have a conversation with your client. You need to be able to talk about different things. You need to be able to explain complex situations to individuals who may not have the background to understand the complex situations. They need to exhibit intellectual curiosity. What does that mean? You need to literally be curious about the world. You need to literally be curious about your client. What makes that company tick? Not every company works the same way. I've been to all these different federal government agencies in my career. There are certain aspects of a federal government agency that is the same from agency to agency, but beyond that, there are things that are very different about each agency. So you have to be intellectually curious. At EY, our tagline is, ask better questions, get better answers, okay? Because if you are curious and you can ask really good, thoughtful questions, you can get to the heart of the matter, the root of the matter, to what's going on, and then you can help your client get around that problem a little bit easier. Okay, we look for folks with a strong work ethic. Okay, what does that mean? I mean, that can mean anything to anybody. Okay, what it means is there will be periods of time during your career when you will have to put your personal life on hold. Okay, there's a catchphrase that's thrown around in the business world a lot, work-life balance. When you work at a Big Four firm, it's not always balanced. There will be periods of time when it skews a little bit more towards your personal life, but on a whole, it's probably going to skew a little bit more towards work life, okay? On any given week, I work between 45 and 50 hours. A standard work week is 40 hours, okay? And just so you all know right now, just to level set your understanding of the work, if you work 40 hours a week, you are doing the bare minimum to get by. No matter what company you ultimately go to when you start your career, if you work 40 hours a week, you will be doing the bare minimum to get by, and your career probably will not advance very far. If you're going to advance your career, no matter where you are, just expect that you'll be working 45 to 50 hours a week, okay? There are periods of time during my career when I've worked 60, 70 hours per week because there was so much work to get done, and I was doing that on 6 days a week because of Sabbath, okay? I've been fortunate that I've been able to honor the Sabbath throughout my entire career, but I was working 60, 70 hours a week, 6 days a week. My coworkers were working 60, 70 hours, 7 days a week. Okay, so strong work ethic. You cannot be afraid of long hours. All right, and demonstrated academic excellence. Okay, these firms are not hiring people that are coming through the door with a 3.0. Okay, now I know a lot of you in Spencerville, because you all are very bright and very astute and hard workers, a lot of you are going to graduate with very high GPAs, which is awesome. And if you can maintain that high GPA when you get to college, that's even more awesome. Maintaining a 3.8, a 3.9, a 4.0 in high school is one thing. Maintaining a 3.8, a 3.9 in college is completely different. Okay? So just level set your expectations there as well. But these firms are looking for people that are like 3.5 and above. Every once in a while I've hired somebody with a 3.4. I've even gone down to 3.2 occasionally because of something that was unique on their resume. But these firms are looking for people that are high achievers. Okay? Here's an interesting thing. Because these firms are looking for smart, motivated, hardworking people, they don't care what school you went to. They don't care what school you went to. Okay? You do not have to go to whatever brand name college you think you need to go to work at a firm like this. You don't have to go to University of Maryland. You don't have to go to Texas A&M. You don't have to go to University of Florida. You don't have to go to insert whatever school, public, state university, or private. You don't have to go to a High Point. You don't have to, whatever Duke. You don't have to go to any of those schools to work at a firm like this. You can go to an Adventist university or college and get a job at one of these firms. If you are smart, if you are motivated, if you're curious, if you're hardworking, okay? I've been able to do it at 2 of these 4 firms. I know other Adventists that work at each one of these firms. I know partners at each one of these firms who are Adventists, okay? All right. Let's see. Okay, just a little bit more on Adventist education and why I think it's important. I mean, you saw the slide. I'm a product of Adventist education, so some people, oh, Walt, you're biased about Adventist education because you're a product of Adventist education. I'm biased about Adventist education because I actually think it's good, okay? A couple of things you need to think about before you get ready to go to school, and I've heard different things from my peers who did not send their children to Adventist schools. I've heard different things from college-age students about Adventist education. There's a couple of things that I want you all to keep in mind as you think about longer-term career and going to school. Going to college is not easy, okay? It's not easy. For a lot of people, it's the first time that they've been away from home. That in and of itself puts a lot of stress on the system. Not being in your own home, your own environment, being in a new place, having to meet a whole bunch of new friends. My oldest son, when he went away to college, I called him after the first week in college. I'm like, Matt, how you doing? Dad, I am worn out. I am worn out. He's an introvert, kind of like his dad. He was having to be very social and extroverted during his first week in college because he's trying to meet all these people, and he was just wearing himself out. It's stressful. It is stressful going to college. Okay, who knows what the prefrontal cortex is? What is it? Here in the orange shirt. It's in your brain. What does it do? Decision-making, executive decision-making, prefrontal cortex. Your prefrontal cortex does not finish maturing until your mid-20s. Guys, it's later than girls. Sorry, just another thing that we're behind the curve on. Okay? It does not finish maturing until your mid-20s. You go to college when you are 18, 19, 20 years old. Your prefrontal cortex has not finished maturing yet. If you get thrown into an environment that does not support your Adventist beliefs, it can really mess up your prefrontal cortex, and it can mess up your decision-making process for the rest of your life, okay? Because you're in an environment that is not supporting your SDA beliefs. Okay, substance abuse, mental health. I've read several reports leading up to this presentation. I was doing a lot of research. There are several reports out there that by the time by the time you become a junior in college, if you're going to a public university or even a private non-Christian university, nearly 50% of all juniors are clinically diagnosed as having some type of substance issue. Nearly 50% of all juniors clinically have some type of substance abuse issue. Mental health issues are twice as high on a public university campus as an SDA campus. Okay? On a public university, you are not going to get the type of support that you would receive on an Adventist college campus for your SDA beliefs. You are not going to have college professors who are praying for you at the start of every single class. Every single one of my classes at Southern, Walla Walla, Newbold, always started with prayer. The professors were praying for us every single day. That makes a huge impact. Not only that, they want you to succeed. They want you to succeed. If you go to the University of Maryland or insert whatever public university you want, I'm not here to knock University of Maryland. I'm just telling you, you go to one of those schools, your entry-level classes are at least as big as this auditorium, if not bigger, and the professors have no idea who you are. They could care less if you pass or fail. They are not there to help you succeed. They are there to teach a course and to collect a paycheck. At an SDA institution, your professors know who you are by name, and I guarantee you they are praying for you every single day. All right, money. Yeah, it's cheaper to go to Maryland. It's cheaper in some cases to go a lot of different places than to an Adventist university. But when you look at the price differential on an annual basis, and then you think about the fact that you're going to graduate from college when you're about 21, 22, and then have the rest of your life in front of you, and you sort of amortize that cost differential out, that means you sort of spread that cost difference out over the rest of your life, it is peanuts, the cost differential. Yes, in any given year, $5,000 to $10,000 is a lot. If somebody asks me, hey, do you want $10,000? I'm not going to say no, okay? But if I think about $10,000 over my lifetime, that's less than $1 a day. Hopefully it's going to be less than 50 cents a day if I live long enough. It might even be less than 25 cents a day, okay? There is a that initial cost difference is big. I'm not going to argue that. But over your lifetime, it is nothing compared to your lifetime earnings. Okay, and then academics. I often hear about, academic rigor at Adventist schools isn't that great, blah, 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 blah. I told you I've been on a lot of public university campuses, and I've interviewed a lot of students. I work with people every single day who went to these big-name schools, okay? And yes, some of them are very, very smart. A lot of them are smarter than me, okay? But a lot of them are not. And a lot of the students that I've interviewed and worked with over the years are not any smarter or any better prepared than the people that I went to school with, okay? The workforce at EY, the workforce at PwC, if you think about that pyramid, most of the people that I work with every single day are between the ages of 22 and 28 years old. So I work with a lot of young people, and I've seen a lot of really smart people, and I've seen a lot of people that I just sort of shake my head and I'm like, how in the world did you get a job here? You can barely tie your shoes. And what school did you go to? Oh, you went to Georgetown? Well, that's interesting. Okay. So just going to a big name school does not ensure that you are going to get any harder academic rigor. It doesn't mean that you're going to have extra job opportunities available to you that you might not have from an Adventist school. President of Southern, I was in contact with him before I gave this, doing research on this presentation. There's a test that they give at the end of college. It's called an end of major field test. And basically it's to try to assess how well are you prepared for the major that you've been studying for during your time here at this school. Last year at Southern, biology majors scored 97%. Business majors, 98%. Math majors, 97%. Music majors, 99%. Okay? That is academic rigor. That's academic rigor. Okay, just a couple more slides, and I'll get you out of here. One thing that Adventists aren't very good about is talking about the success of other Adventists. And let me back up one other thing. Does anybody know why the Adventist church started colleges and universities? Yeah. That's part of the reason, Kira. There is another reason. Does anybody else want to venture a guess as to why the Adventist church decided to start colleges and universities? It was to help prepare folks so that they could lead our Adventist institutions. Okay? Hopefully you all have heard here at Spencerville that we're trying to instill in you at this school a sense of service. Hopefully you've heard that at least once while you've been in high school. We are trying to instill that sense of service. And I honestly hope that every single one of you will embrace that sense of service. I started my career at the GC. I hope that every single one of you will think long and hard about working for the church, because the church needs qualified people leading it, okay? I hope all of you will go to an Adventist institution. I hope all of you will be a student missionary. Our second son, Jeff, worked as a student missionary for 1 year. It was probably the best life experience he has had to date, working as a student missionary. And maybe someday he can, I think he spoke here once before, but maybe one day he could come back and speak again, because his time in Majerot was life-altering. So I hope that you all will think long and hard about a career of service. But in the event that you think, I want to graduate and I want to go do something else with my life, but that means I'm not going to go to an Adventist school, because if I want to go do something else with my life, I'm not going to have the opportunity to do something else with my life. Okay? On the screen, you're going to see some older faces. You're going to see some younger faces. Who knows what Tommy John surgery is? Does anybody know what Tommy John surgery is? Yeah, in the back here. It's a baseball-related injury, right? It happens to what position in baseball does it primarily affect? Pitchers. What happens if a pitcher can't throw? They can't pitch. The inventor of the Tommy John surgery is a graduate from La Sierra University. Dr. Frank Jobe, okay? Alex Acton, Union Director of Finance for the San Francisco 49ers. Are you kidding me? He works for the San Francisco 49ers, and he's the Director of Finance. Jeff Coleman, he was actually at Southern 1 or 2 years before me, the White House physician for 12 years. He served George Bush, President Obama, and Donald Trump, okay, as the White House physician. All right, this guy down here in the lower left-hand corner, Patrick, basketball head coach, Grambling State University. Has anybody ever heard of Grambling State University? Okay, it's one of the premier HSBCs, HB, thank you. TJ Hunter, he's a graduate from Spencerville. TJ went to Andrews. He currently works at Goldman Sachs. You probably haven't heard of Goldman Sachs before. Goldman Sachs is one of the premier banks in the entire world. TJ is working there. Okay, he went to this school. He used to sit in this auditorium. He used to sit in the same classrooms that you all sit in. He's now working at one of the premier banks in the world. Okay, Barry Black, Rear Admiral in the Navy. That means 2 stars. That's pretty significant. Oakwood graduate, U.S. Senate chaplain. Justin, graduate of PUC, animator at Pixar. Okay, you can see the movies that he's worked on. Okay, Marissa, Dr. Charles, there in the middle, another Oakwood graduate. She works for Coca-Cola. She's a toxicologist. Now think about what Coca-Cola produces, something that we all put into our bodies, right? Being a toxicologist means that it's her job to make sure that their products are safe to put into your bodies. Do you think that's a job they're just going to hand out to some flunky? No, it's not, okay? Carson O'Phil, another Spencerville graduate. Went to Andrews, currently works at Ford Motor Company. Okay, Caden Sakachevin, another Spencerville graduate. Went to Walla Walla, currently works at Google. Mark McLaughlin, I don't know if any of you have the fidget cube, but he's the guy that kick-started it, graduate from Union. Nicholas, I can't pronounce his last name. Schumerman, okay, Southern, works for Disney, a senior financial analyst, okay? These are not slough jobs, guys. Tyler, another Spencerville graduate. She works at Deloitte, okay? One of my competitors. Okay, Tyler, fine. I wish you worked with me, but she doesn't. Cheedy, I tried to recruit him from Southern to come work with me at EY, but PwC won his heart, and he's at PwC right now. All right, Karen, she's a marine scientist at the Smithsonian. Garrett, Walla Walla, software engineer, Microsoft. Bart, United Airlines pilot. I don't fly United much, but I guess if I do from now on, I'll be looking to see if Bart's the pilot. And catch this. Look at this last guy, Brian Wright, general manager, San Antonio Spurs. Okay? These are just a few of the success stories that I was able to find by doing a few minutes of internet research, going through my LinkedIn contacts, connections, trying to find people that had graduated from Adventist schools that work outside the Adventist field, outside the Adventist bubble, that have had successful careers. Okay, just one more slide here. Sorry if I'm keeping you late. Okay, these are companies, other companies that Adventists are working at. Okay, I think you probably recognize most of the names, graduates from Adventist schools and universities working at all these different companies. Okay, so here's my closing thought for you all. When you get ready to go to college, I'm just going to let you know, you've heard me say it, I wish you go to SDA college, you might go to public university. Here's ultimately what you need to take away. You will get out of that experience whatever you put into it. If you sleep in and slough off, you're not going to get much. If you're up early and you're to class all the time, you're going to get a lot out of it. If you are motivated, if you are dedicated, you're going to do well in college and university. This school prepares everybody to be successful in college and university. You will be if you dedicate yourself once you get into college. And then on the back end, you will be able to have a successful career, hopefully a life of service, working in an SDA institution. But if not, I would hope that you will be a beacon on the hill at whatever company you end up at. Okay? I've tried hard to live a pretty faithful life at the companies that I've worked for. I think most people know my value system, my belief system, and they respect it, and I work hard at it every single day because I'm not a perfect person, but I try to hold up my light for Christ every single day at the companies that I work for. The second thing is you need to pray a lot. you need to pray a lot, and you need to have faith in Christ to walk out on that limb, to take that student loan that you might have to take, to incur a little bit more expense up front so that you can attend an Adventist education, an Adventist institution, and then know that you have the rest of your life to pay off that difference between what it might cost an Adventist school versus a non-Adventist school. So pray a lot about that. Pray with your parents, pray with your faculty here at this school, pray with your grandparents, pray with your friends. Pray, pray, pray about what you're going to do with your college experience and where you're going to college. That's it.
Amazing. Aren't you happy we chose Mr. Fennell? I can stay here 2 hours more listening. Lot of information together. I want that PowerPoint if you're okay sharing with me, because we need to hear this side of the story. We hear so many voices of people that is not well informed, telling us not to believe in ourselves. And I'm so happy. You told them what I've been telling all along, but they probably think I don't know much. So thank you, thank you, thank you. This is just the beginning of Career Day. Up there, thank you again. You see the schedule. I know it's a little small, but you have it. We already sent it to you, and we're going to guide you through. So no worries. After this is lunch. 2 things that I have to say. I know. I'm hungry too. Seniors, you're not allowed to boo me, but you're not going to eat in the comments today, because we have all these very important people invited to our building, and they're going to eat there. So you're going to go to the cafeteria and eat with your little brothers and sisters, and they'll be happy to have you, okay? What else? I have to say this. If you smell a very strong, yucky smell of broccoli, strong broccoli in the building, is my fault. And you're going to have to endure it, because I tried to spray the building over there. They told me I can't because of the allergies. So it's going to go away, but I don't know when. We bought pizza for the speakers, and I thought they need to eat some veggies too. And I brought the broccoli, and we warm it up. And sorry for the smell. You're going to smell it. So I've already told you. Try not to be. Okay, what else? What else? This is important for the afternoon flow. You see that we have rotations. We have 12 speakers. It's a lot of very important people that took a day off to come to bless us. So I'm asking you to be super polite, respectful, and to take advantage of all the knowledge and all the experience that we're going to have in this building in a few minutes. You already got this. I hope you took your time to decide what presentations you're going to attend. I don't want to have rooms that have more than 45 students and rooms that are empty. So try to find, wahoo, over there, shh. Because the next thing I'm going to say is everybody have to pass by the gym. You have to do a walkabout in the gym. So the way it's going to be, as soon as we leave here, we eat. As soon as you finish eating, we go to the first rotation. If you're a freshman, you go to the gym first. If you're a sophomore, you go next. And guess who's going to tell you, time to switch? Oh, he left. Dr. Frederick is going to make an announcement over the speaker because the bells are not adjusted. So he will make an announcement. Teachers will set up their phones. And in 40 minutes, freshmen are out, sophomores are in. And then juniors and seniors. But, you know that there's something happening that was not supposed to happen today, but thanks to the snow, there's a concert tonight. So Miss Frolic needs, I think it's the band, yeah, to practice the last hour. I'm so sad about it, but it is what it is. We're a family, we have to work as a team. So listen, if you are going to be gone, you can join the gym, before. even if you're a senior, because seniors in that, okay, let's put it this way. If you're a senior that is in the band, then you should go to the gym before so you don't miss it. But only if you have to go, not just because you want to go at a different time. Two more things. We have a very important person. This is a lawyer, immigration lawyer, that traveled the entire night to make it here. Well, I hope he's here. Last message was from Atlanta, but she really wants to be here. So if you're thinking, many of you are thinking, look, please go and meet Mrs. Stewartson. She's not from our school community, but she's amazing. Don't miss that chance. Dr. Tominko, she put a table for us, and she's going to be with us, but not the last rotation. So if you want to see the dentist, make sure you visit her room before 3 something, because we're going to close it. All right, I hope I didn't give you too much information. We'll be there to answer questions. I need you to make me proud today. I don't want to see anyone fooling around. I want you to be making smart questions, taking advantage of the amazing people that is donating their day to be with us. All right? We go to lunch? All right. See you around.